Welcome to the No Name Brand Podcast. My name is Sashka Hanarapal, actress, singer, dancer, turned brand marketing, sales, and advertising strategist who brands your soul. And each week I bring you an inspiring person or message to help you discover your undergod, turn up your leadership notches, challenge the status quo, because you're fast and furious with a powerful message to share with the world. Thank you for taking time out with me today, and without further ado, let's get our creative and wisdom juices flowing. Booyah! Folks, it's that time of the week again. It's time to learn, to accelerate your fast and furious and meet the movers and shakers of the world who are putting one foot in front of the other to ensure that they're living on purpose, to encourage you to do the same. And our next guest is no exception. As a kid, his dream was to become a world-class athlete, which he achieved. Later on, he became a father to two gorgeous boys, and wanting to spend more time with his sons and less time traveling, he took his talents to managing the world's best tennis players, including the current world number one, Novak Djokovic. But his successes isn't what he's known for. It's how he makes you feel. He accelerates your learning curve to grow and reinvent yourself so that you keep getting better and better at what you do, which makes you the top performer in your field. Now, who the heck doesn't want that? And discerns you as the unique and special player that you are and were born to be. Damn, that's what I want, man. Now, imagine our next guest, not so much visually, but emotionally, as Baloo from the Jungle Book. Your pal and confident that only wants the best for you and your life and helps you achieve it without breaking you, but building you up every step of the way. Now, as a kid, our guest questioned, what separates the very best from everyone else? He asked himself, are they smarter? Do they work harder? Or is there something else that distinguishes them? Now, through his adolescence and adult life, he came to answer that question. It's called the Millisecond Edge. Because we live in a world that admires, appreciates, and pays a huge premium to the stars of every profession at the expense of everyone else. And this trend, baby, is unlikely to change because it's been happening many, many decades. And our next guest helps us to stay on the top of our game so that we can enjoy an exciting and successful career rather than doomed to live the life of the rat race, in which we are forced to work longer hours for the same or even lower compensation that we are accustomed to. So I'm super excited to meet our next guest and introduce you to him and delve into the world of high performance, leadership, and the millisecond edge. So please put your hands together for the one, the only, Allon Khakshouri. Hello, Allon.
Hey, Shashka, I'm so delighted to be on your show. Thanks for having me.
I'm so stoked to have you here. I said it before when we hooked up now, just before we started the interview. Finally, a performance coach. I love the mentality. I'm like, so a do, but at the same time being. But before we dive in, share with us, where are you in the world today? When were you born there? Share with us just a little bit about you.
Sure. So I come from a Persian family. I was born in Germany, in Hamburg. I grew up in Switzerland. I went on to study in the United Kingdom.
Wow.
I took the New York bar exam in New York, and I moved to Israel about 9 years ago, where I now live with my wife and my two lovely kids.
Oh, how old are they?
They're 3 years, and the younger one is turning 4 months very soon.
Oh my God, they're little bumpkins. Oh, bless them. What made you decide to move to Israel?
Well, my family is Jewish, so I always had a big connection to the country. A big part of my family already lived here.
Oh.
I love the climate. And when I moved 9 years ago, my work as a sports agent was global. You know, I was always traveling the world, so it didn't really matter where I lived. So I wanted to be close to family. I wanted to be close to the beach, to good weather. Then I met my wife and I created my family here. So this is home now.
Oh, I love it. I love it. What do you love most about Israel?
I love the people. I love the weather. And I love the openness. You know, we live in a very crazy region in the Middle East, and yet Israel is a country where anyone can express their opinion, where we have democracy, where last week we had the Gay Pride Parade with 250,000 people, where people love to live.
I love it. Isn't the Eurovision winner from Israel?
She is, yes. I didn't know people watch Eurovision anymore, but yes, she is.
Well, I actually only just noticed her, and she just stood out because I was like, oh my God, she's freaking brilliant. And the chicken singing.
Exactly,
I'm like, oh my God.
No, she was super cool. People love her here. And she brought some pride to the country.
I love it. I love it. So share with us, what is this millisecond edge and how do we achieve it?
Well, let me take it from this angle.
Yes.
When you take a 100-meter race, the winner is a millisecond faster than the guy who finishes second or third. But he's the one who gets all the glory, all the fame, all the money, everything. Yeah. And often, like, let's say, I know in high school, you know, like often you compare yourself with other guys, and like the guy who gets the most gorgeous girl does everything the same like all his friends, yet there is this millisecond edge that makes him more appealing. Or we're in our profession, you know, we're working extremely hard, but another guy, like, he earns 20 times as much as us. And we ask ourselves, is he 20 times better than us? Is that actually even possible? Does he spend 20 times the time of us at work, or is his brain 20 times bigger? And the answer is no. So what is this millisecond?
Yeah. I'm sitting on the edge of my seat. I'm like, tell me.
So many top performers is one simple thing. It's the ability to focus. This has a few dimensions. You know, on the one hand, we have performance situations where we want to perform at our best. We want to be fully engaged. We want to be present. We want to be free from anxiety. And there are techniques and tools how you can do that. But the best technique and tool is to practice being focused. Like, let's say you're a tennis player. So if you want to play your best game at the finals of Wimbledon, the best way to achieve that is to practice being fully engaged in your practice sessions and to be focused at improving and at doing what Anders Ericsson calls deliberate practice. And then there's a step further than that. Like, I was working with Novak Djokovic, like from the age of 14 up until a few years ago. And he was a talented kid, but no one thought he was going to be a future top 5 player. And he had this strong inner belief, I'm going to be the world #1. And so he climbed the rankings. Everybody was shocked. Of course, now in hindsight, everybody will say, I knew it, but they didn't. And then he got to #3 in the world. He was focused. He played well. But somehow he couldn't break through to #2 and #1. One reason was that you had Roger Federer and Rafael Nadal there, 2 huge names. And the other reason was that he wasn't quite as fit as them. They were fitter, they were physically stronger. So when he lost the US Open finals to Nadal in 2010, he knew he needed to do something different to take it to the next level. So A, he focused on becoming the fittest athlete he could be, maybe one of the fittest athletes in the world. But B, he also realized that focus is not enough just in the competitive situation or in the practice situation. It's actually a lifestyle. It's what you do day in and day out. And that doesn't mean your life becomes like a slave, but it does mean that what you eat, who you hang out with, when you go to sleep, all these things matter, and they all impact how well you'll perform when it really matters.
I love that. So it's kind of like meditating awake. That focus is like meditating awake because you're so in the zone of your genius. You're not out of that zone. You just like meditate, you go into your own world and your own mind and everything like that. But when you're focused, I like that. I love that. And you're not just focusing on what you mentioned now. He focused on one thing and not many things that overwhelm the whole situation. Yeah.
100%. Absolutely. And, there's a lot of research about the flow state and like how when you're in flow and you're occupied with a challenge that is difficult but not overwhelming, how people who tap into that kind of state, how much more productive they are, how much more creative they are. And sadly, I think according to Gallup, like, I don't know the number, but over half of the people in our working force, they're not engaged with their work. So they don't really enjoy and love what they do.
Yeah, that makes so much sense because we're so overwhelmed, whether you're an entrepreneur, self-employed, or you're a teenager in school, whatever. you're not able to really focus on anything because you're having your attention split in so many different directions, whether it be your health, and then it's your financial, and then it's your marriage or your kids or whatever. So how did you get Novak to, well, get him? I mean, he was paying you, but still at the same time, you have to want it as well. So how did he get to that? Was it a confidence thing that he was like, I can be the fittest person, because if I'm fitter than this person, then I know this one focus is going to bring me further? Or were there other elements as well involved?
I think a guy like Novak, what he has is what Carol Dweck calls a growth mindset. He had it from a young age. He wanted to be a number one tennis player, and he believed that through hard work and effort, you can achieve your dreams. Other people have a fixed mindset. They believe it's innate talents and character traits that define who you are. That is very harmful, in my opinion, because even if you are talented, and I think talent is overrated, it creates a lot of pressure because, like, you want to challenge yourself. You want to push yourself. And I've seen with people who've been dubbed as super talented that when they struggled with challenges, then they often capitulated. They often didn't try their best, or they often didn't go for big challenges that were difficult because they didn't want to embarrass themselves. They didn't want people to think that maybe they're not as talented as everybody thinks they are.
How does your mind work when you're working with mainly top performers and they're in the state of, damn, it was that millisecond? How is your mind working as Baloo, as that confident and friend, where you're not breaking them down but building them up? How is your mind working to encourage them and build them up? How's your whole being and aura coming into play?
That's a great question. And the truth here is that I call it the law of paradox. Often the opposing things, and in between of them, you have big solutions. So with big goals, and I think that's what you're talking about, big, ambitious goals, we need to, on the one hand, set ourselves big goals, visualize them, dream them, set a plan, set a schedule, get a coach, get all the support we need. But then at the same time, we need to also be detached from specific outcomes, because if we attach to the outcome too much, then the pressure becomes big and it becomes often unbearable, and that can make us fail. But the one thing that I tell to people all the time, and I think when people really grasp this, they understand how much potential we have, is this. On the one hand, we underestimate what we're able to do in the long run. But at the same time, we overestimate what we can do in the short run. Wow. So this is the next paradox. We need to have big long-term goals, but we need to break them down in smaller, more manageable short-term goals so that we create and enjoy progress and we build momentum.
I love that. Something that I've always noticed, or noticing more, maybe because I'm in the field and the sphere, maybe you've seen it as well, is that the masculine side, and not necessarily a male, but the masculine side of business and life is always in a state of doing. So do. And the feminine side is in the state of being. And what most entrepreneurs seem to see is that the masculine side, like Gary Vaynerchuk or Dr. Eric Thomas, they're all in the state of do and go and hustle and grind. But what they don't see is that focused side of, like you mentioned now, their being. It's a silent being that we just don't see, but it gives them that millisecond because they're manifesting, in inverted commas, this whole law of attraction thing. They're not focusing too much on the hows, but they're breaking it down. Would you agree? Or
I love that. And one thing that I love telling entrepreneurs, but also athletes, is that, in sport, you can't determine the outcome of a game because there's a competitor. And that competitor might have the best day of their life, or you can't guarantee that you're going to win a gold medal. So what do you do? When you train hard, of course, you have this goal, you visualize it, we spoke about it. At the same time, you focus on the process, on growing and getting better, and specifically on building your character. And one of my favorite exercises that I like to do for myself, but I like to give people as well, is to really define a few character traits, a few performance character traits like focus or discipline or persistence, but also a few relational character traits, moral character traits like integrity, gratitude, love, whatever feels right for you. And then to make it a theme each month, one of those character traits. Like, let's say the theme this month is focus. So you set reminders on that character trait. You might dedicate 1 hour a day where you really focus on doing very, very focused work. You might focus on when you're with people to really listen to them at a level that you never listen to. And maybe you'll read a little bit about focus and the research on focus. And you create your own character curriculum. And that's how you become the person you really want to be.
I love that. So much wisdom in that. Each month a character thing. Love that.
Yeah.
Something that, whilst we were talking, when we're growing up, we have a lot of limiting beliefs and the way that, it's just the way it is. And they're lessons for us. And there's the shadow side and the opposite to help us grow in our personal growth. Now, when you're working with Novak, he was 14 when you started working with him. That's a teenager. Like, his identity is still growing, still trying to find its space. How do you bring in performance sport with focus with a teenager? Was that easy?
First of all, I have to clarify that. Like, my job in the world of sports is a sports agent. I'm the manager, so I take care of all the commercial aspects of a player. Of course, the better the player plays, the more opportunities there are. So high performance is always on the back of my head. Like, what can we do to help that guy maximize his potential? And with a guy like Novak from a young age, and he had this intrinsic drive for this already, but the goal was to create the right team around him. And I remember when he was 17 years old, I invited him to my ATP event that I owned that was in Thailand. And he came not only with a coach, but with a physio and a fitness coach. And at that time, only the very best took more than one person to a trip. And people were laughing at him. They were like, who does this little kid think with all his entourage and all his team? But he knew what it takes to become a top player. He wanted to be surrounded by the people that needed him, that would push him to get where he wanted to get. And I think that's why he achieved what he achieved.
I love that, man. Why do we as a society, especially today, find it, quote unquote, hard to be consistent in anything in our lives or business? What's holding us back and how can we combat this?
That's a great question, because I think our biggest resource is our ability to pay attention, to be focused. And the biggest challenge we have nowadays is that we are so distracted. It is almost impossible to have a conversation with someone without being interrupted. And I think it was Carl Newport who said that there are 3 types of people who are going to be rich looking forward. You want to know who they are?
Yes.
The first are the owners, the people who have a lot of money and they can invest in businesses and projects. The second group are those who really understand the technology of the future, like computers, programming, etc. And the third group are the superstars, the very best in every industry, because we're seeing this trend. People are willing to pay a premium for the best performers, the best singers, the best teachers, the best coaches. Everyone else is getting less and less. And now for an entrepreneur, what are the key skills that he really needs to master? On the one hand, we need to master the ability to learn difficult things on a consistent basis, because the world is changing.
Expand on that. Difficult things on a consistent basis.
Basically, like, we need to be good learners. And if we're an entrepreneur and we're not taking time to learn about marketing or learning about negotiation or learning about presentations and actively honing the skills that will make us better at what we do, then we'll struggle to become a superstar in our industry. And the second thing is we need to produce at a very exceptional level. Like, if you take your favorite musicians, they're probably the magicians who release a record every year. Winner we spoke about from the Eurovision. If she doesn't release one record every year, in a year from now, nobody will know her.
Yeah,
the people online, the ones who produce the most content, the most podcasts, the most courses, they're the ones who are going to have sustainable success. Now, all this needs to be combined with living what I think is a high-performance lifestyle, meaning we want to be the best at what we do, but we want to have loving relationships, and we want to be healthy, we want to feel good about ourselves. And the only way we manage that is not by working harder and not by working more hours, but really upgrading our ability to be focused. So it comes back to what we spoke at the very beginning. practicing to do a power block of high value work every day, and then increasing that to 2, 3, 4 hours a day. Learning to control our mobile phone addictions. Maybe when you wake up in the morning, not to grab your phone first thing, but to wait 1, 2 hours and plan your day. And then in the evening, to put your phone away in the last hour before you go to sleep, so that you get a powerful regenerating sleep. These are the kind of things that we need to do.
So it's almost like the consistency or the ability to be consistent is through our taking back our control and owning it and not giving that whatever the power to control us.
100%, and starting gradually.
Yeah, that's good.
The power of compounding. Like you may have heard this story of this offer. Like I offer you $2 million now, or 1 penny that doubles itself every day for 10 days. What would you choose?
The second one.
The penny?
Yeah, every day.
That would be a big mistake because you'd be left with $5 instead of $2 million. But let's say this penny doubles itself for 20 days. What would you choose? The $2 million or the penny that doubles itself every day for 20 days?
Oh, now you put him on the spot. I don't know now.
Okay, so you still go for the $2 million because that penny would only be $5,000. But after 30 days, this 1 penny suddenly becomes more than $5 million. In other words, small, little, consistent steps lead to huge results. Now, how do you create consistent steps? Well, first of all, you need to have the motivation. You need to know, why are you doing this? Why is it so important for you to become a high performer, to do better in business, to have better relationships, to feel better about yourself? You really need to spend time and think about it. There's no right or wrong answer, and we can dive deeper into motivation if you want. But once we do that, we need to work on building habits, and the best way is to have an accountability partner, someone who really helps us follow through for the first 10, 20, 30 days, whether it's a partner, a friend, a coach, because changes in the beginning aren't easy, but once we get used to creating new habits, then shaping habits becomes a skill that we become much better at. And then it becomes easier for us to go to the gym or to eat better or to do whatever we want to do. So in my case, when I really wanted to go to the gym, I started with a personal trainer, and now I go to the gym on my own. I don't need anyone to push me.
I love that. I love that. Now, to be productive, you speak about being super focused. And as an example, in focusing, I've subscribed to your email, so I wanted to see, how does Allon work? And you put in there, the one example was, where do you want to be in 5 years? Mm-hmm. I've heard that question so many times, and it was really interesting because yesterday, because I'm on my own personal growth journey. So when I answered, I was like, oh, wow, I had no idea. And then you broke it down. I would like to know, where do you want to be in 5 years, and how are you breaking it down?
That's a great question. So, I'm in a transition situation because I've worked in tennis all my life. Now I started working with entrepreneurs. In 5 years from now, I really want to create the best platform for ordinary people who want to learn about high performance. Like the best platform, like I'm calling it now the high performance project. Like helping ordinary people do the things that exceptional people do.
I love that. I love that. And how are you breaking it down? Because you gave an example. You start on one big project that's about 3-6 months. You break it down into months, break it down into weeks. It's like, yeah, I love that.
So right now, as my monthly goal, I'm actually creating the manifesto of what this group or this community is going to be about. Just to give you an example of a month. And I broke it down, like I worked through the 5 years backwards and broke it down into mini monthly goals.
I love that. That keeps you like super focused. I love that. How can we as human beings in any profession, like you were saying, like normal people, whatever, normal, that's pretty funny. Normal people and entrepreneurs, they're not that different. But anyway, perform at their best on command. How can you do it on command?
Cool. So we talked about the need to practice. Okay, let's assume you really practice, and let's say you're someone who speaks in front of thousands of people, but you feel a little anxious. You practiced your speech, you're ready. So one of the most powerful tools is to visualize activities that you can't do on an ongoing basis. You can't speak in front of 1,000 people daily, right? Suddenly you're going to be out there and you have to perform. So that's something that athletes do a lot, and it really, really has a big impact. And there's 4 important criteria for a good visualization. By the way, when I talk about a visualization, I mean, like, you imagine yourself doing that activity. You don't see yourself like on TV. You see yourself standing in the stage, feeling those emotions, and then calming yourself down, and then getting yourself into the best performance state. And I can talk about that in a second. So there's 4 secrets to visualization. The first one is the frequency, how often you visualize. Like, the more you visualize, the better. The second one is the duration. The longer you do your visualization, the more impactful it will be. The third one is the intensity, meaning the intensity of emotions, like feeling anxious in the beginning and then seeing yourself calm down and feeling excited to be out there in front of the people. That's what I mean with intensity. And then feeling the benefit afterwards, people congratulating you and seeing how you touched their lives. And then the 4th criteria is the vividness of your visualization, like the sense data, how well you hear the things that are going on, you smell them, you see them, you taste them. The more you do this, the better. And it's a process, it's something one needs to learn. But then depending on the situation, like, you have a big negotiation now in 10 minutes. So again, you spend 5 minutes for burning, making a mini visualization of that meeting and how you want it to go. Then maybe you get yourself into the right state. If you want to be calm, you practice taking 10 really slow breaths. If you want to be a little bit more pumped up, then you practice 10 faster breaths. And then in the actual meeting, you think of things like your posture, your gesturing, or as a tennis player, you focus on having like positive body language. You act confidently, like even if you don't feel confidently, because your body influences your mind. And then the most important, not the most important, but equally important is after that performance situation, you spend some time thinking about what went well, what could I do better? So you actually use it to learn.
I love that. There's like so many nuggets in there. Damn! There's four essentials for visualization. I love that. The intensity. So you're working from looking from within yourself out and not objective. So
exactly. Basically, you're creating that event in your head, in the theater of your head. And by doing that, you can actually practice any situation a million times. If you do podcasts and you just start and you're nervous and you don't want to like fail in front of hundreds of people, even though we need to be willing to make mistakes and we need to be willing to learn. That's another thing. That's why practice is so crucial. But you can prepare in your head. You can think about like, what is this person going to ask? And then, okay, she's going to ask this question and that's going to be really difficult. So I'll be like nervous, but then like I really visualize like relaxing myself and saying, well, that's a good question, and gathering my thoughts together. And then like even like constructing the answer in my head. And that's how you really practice performing better under pressure.
Man, guys, I'm loving Allon. I can just carry on over here. We're coming to the end. And I have 2 questions for all of my guests. One of them being is, how do you want to change or challenge the world doing what you do?
I want to change and challenge the world by spreading the word about the fact that we can all be high performers. We can all manage to be successful in our careers and still have loving families, loving relationships, taking care of our health. That's the one way I want to really change the world. And the other thing that is deep in my heart because of my story, when I was a kid, I was like this awkward kid with learning disabilities and they didn't want to take me to Swiss public school. I have this dream to revolutionize the school system because I really think we don't learn the skills we need for life in school, and not everyone has the same opportunity to go to good schools. So my dream would be the best schools for the biggest underdogs.
Love it. I'm goosebumps. So it must be happening. You put it into the world. The seed is planted. It's going to happen.
It's work in progress. I hope so.
Love it. I'd love to be a part of that as well. So whenever you need any help, just call on me.
Sure, I love that. Absolutely.
So I'd love for you to fill in the blanks on 3 of my values, what they mean to you. So creativity for you is?
Connecting unrelated things in fascinating ways.
Haven't heard that one before. Cool. Wisdom for you is?
Learning from life's experiences and not doing the same mistakes over and over again.
Cool. Passion for you is?
being obsessed with something we love and pursuing that obsession on a daily basis.
I love that. Allon, thank you so much for being with us here today and sharing your wisdom and your passion and your creativity with us and how you're going to be changing and challenging the world. You can find out more about Allon in the show notes, his favorite book, his favorite quote, where he is online, his website. He'll have a special freebie for you. I do recommend signing up for his free gift. I'm busy doing it now, and I find it really cool. It really makes you think, because that's what Sashka loves, challenging the status quo. So that's something that can really challenge you, especially if you're feeling a little bit overwhelmed. Allon gives you a bit of clarity just in where you are right now. So he meets you where you are right now and not overwhelming you some more. So thank you so much.
Thanks, Sashka. This was amazing. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much. And have an awesome day further. And we'll have you, and we'll be watching and tracking you and have you on the show again.
Great. I'd love to be back, and we'll stay in touch.
We'll stay in touch, definitely. Thank you. And thank you to the listeners. Have an awesome week further. Love you lots. Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody. Thanks.
Dang, that was just supercalifragilisticexpialidocious. I enjoyed having you on board, and please do me and you a favor. Head on over to iTunes, SoundCloud, or Stitcher. Click subscribe, and a super bonus, leave your review and you stand a chance of being announced and advertised on the show. I'm always striving to ensure that your brand is uplifted and empowered. Remember, done is better than perfect. So be sure to subscribe, leave a review, and send in your feedback too. You're the absolute best. Keep rocking.